Hey everybody, thank you for joining me today. So today's video, we're going to be using this sketch here. I found it on Pinterest and there's no measurement, so we're just going to figure this out. So this video is a little bit longer than normal, okay? My friend Beatrice, who also has a channel here on YouTube, I will put it, an iCard up here. And she does a lot with Kiwi Lane. And so when I saw this sketch, I was like, let me use these templates that I have from Kiwi Lane. I haven't used it, I think, in a video. If I have I ever? For a card. I know I've used them on layouts before, but I don't think I've done a card. So we're gonna go ahead and get started with this one. So I have my two card bases, which are 4¼ by 5½. And then I'm pulling back out my new favorite pad from Kaiser Craft. And just FYI, I got two more coming because I love this paper collection. And we're going to create a mat because I was like, you know what? I'm going to build this up on a solid cardstock. I don't have any more pattern paper in there, a full sheet. I'm using the sheet itself to create this sketch. So I cut the black paper to 4⅛ by 5�3/8. That's going to give me a nice border around the edge. And then my piece of paper that's going to have the little swirly dip is going to be this one right here. And what I decided to do was, since the paper itself is 6½ by 6½, I'm going to cut it at 3¼ and that'll give me two equal pieces of paper. Okay. So, and I almost cut it wrong, but I was able to recover. I moved it and cut it at 3¼ and then I'm going to trim it down to match the same length of my mat page. So it's going to be right at 5�3/8. So once I have that cut out, I'm looking here at some of the papers that I want to use for my stripe, or the part that's going to go across the center. And I decided those were the two pieces I was going to use, and we're going to go ahead and get these papers ready. I decided to draw on the back of the paper, and so I flipped my design over because I wanted that big loop to be on the left side like you're seeing it in the sketch. So in order to get it on the right section, I knew I was going to have to, if I turn my paper over, I was going to have to turn the stencil over as well. Okay, you get it? And then once I cut this out, you'll see here, once I cut it out, I'm going to lay it down. See, my swirly part, the bigger section, is on the same side as the sketch. And then I'm going to use this with one of the sticker borders from the sticker book. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this one out. Whenever I'm working on multiple cards, if I can, except for when I'm doing videos, I try to do the similar step on each one. Sometimes I may go ahead and finish out. This is just two cards. It just depends. But if I'm doing a bulk, like, 10, 15, 20 cards, then I do all the same. I cut all my cardstock. For my bases, I cut all my mats. I cut, you know what I mean? Like each step I do for all, so that by the time you get to the last step that you're doing for all, you're done. So for around the edges, I grabbed my black soot and I just did it lightly. I just wanted a little bit to give it a little bit of dimension and to take away some of that the white that was around the edges. So I'm going to tape it down using the wet glue. Now for me, because of the paper that I'm using and the sizes and stuff, I did give myself a little bit more of a lip at the top as far as what you're seeing on the sketch itself. But I like how this turned out. I mean, yeah, I like how it turned out. So now that we got that laid down, I was trying to decide if I want to use a different piece or if I wanted to stick with these that I already had. I think I decided to just go ahead and use the two pieces that I had put to the side. So I'm going to use this polka dot, and I'm looking at it's almost like a washi, like you consider it like a washi sticker. And I'm just deciding like which one I wanted to put with what. So I decided I'm pulling out my cutter and I'm going to trim down the paper that I have to the 5 1/8, and then the stripe, the polka dot piece, I'm going to trim that down as well. And so that way they're both the same size. And then I'm going to tape it up and get that put down. And I'm doing this because, you know, I'm using some of the scraps that I still have, and I'm using part of the sticker book, and it's still giving me that similar edge or look as the sketch itself. And then I was like, you know what? I got to pull out my peel-offs. Like, if I'm going to do this, you know, I got to use them. So I decided to use the blue and the silver. On this particular one, I'm going to use the silver first. And I'm going to use the blue on the second one, which we're going to be working on here together. So I'm just laying down my pieces on either end, or either side, I should say, of the sticker border. And we're going to trim it and add that piece back. And I only keep these little pieces because you never know when you might just need a little piece. If you have something that's going on top of it where it doesn't have to, it kind of like hides the fact that it doesn't go all the way across, then you can use stuff like that and not waste an entire long sheet. So that's why I save those. So now we're going to attach this to the top of the card. And like always, I know I talk about it in every video, but in case there's anybody who's new, I use ATG tape, or the tape runner, with wet glue. And what that does is that gives me a few seconds where if I put it down and it's not laying right, I can pick it back up without destroying my card or my project and get it even where I want it. If you've ever struggled with it, I'm telling you, this is a trick that works, okay? And on the plus side, you just get double adhesion, so you don't have to worry about anything coming off your project or it coming apart from the card base. Win-win. So I was thinking about using that hello, but I didn't really like how it looks. Now, hindsight being 2020, I kind of did in looking at the video, but I decided to go a different way. So on this part of the sticker book is the word extraordinary. And I was thinking like I could use the flower with the extraordinary. Because in the sketch, you know, they have the stars and stuff. And I was going to do that, but I was like, if I'm using this paper pad, I can show you how to use your sticker book if you have it. Or if I thought about it, I should have grabbed the ephemera pack, and I could have even grabbed stuff out of there. But for this, I wanted to give it some height. So I'm going to put down some of the foam tape that I have on my desk and get it popped up, and then take the backing off. And you can see I've used my pokey tool, I'll use my scissors. I just need something with a sharp end to get that little bit up, and I'm good. That's how I get my backing off. And then I just put it right in that little sweet spot, so that way you don't miss the word extraordinary, and it's good. So I decided I wanted to put some white enamel dots down at the bottom. I was having a little bit of problem, so I grabbed the pin from my art glitter glue and just ran it through the top, and it opened it up, and I didn't have any air bubbles. I'm going to tap it, and then it's going to spread out. Now, I do wind up noticing, is this the first one? Yeah. On that very last one, I wind up having a little bubble, and when I went to pop it, it did something funky to the dot, but yeah, it is what it is. I would still send it out. It's not horrible, but yeah, you could tell that it had a little hiccup. All right, so for this one, I've picked out my bottom paper, and I'm not worried about that sticker strip being pink and then being on top of pink. What I'm going to do, because I'm using the peel offs, it's going to give it separation because there's going to be a little bit of blue right next to it on each side. So once again, we're going to attach, get it even, and then turn it over once I filed all of the fuzzies. I would say that's probably one of the biggest drawbacks of the Kaiser craft papers is when I cut them with my cutting tool, I always get fuzzies, and it's just because it's such a thin paper. When I cut two pieces together, I don't get any problems. But whenever I'm using one sheet, if I go to cut it, it'll like give me little fuzz balls all the time. So I'm putting my blue stripe in the same exact spot as we did on the first card, trimming some of that extra so that way we don't waste. And then grab another one because I want to make sure it's the same size, and then put it on the top end. And I always fuss with these because I'm always trying to make sure it's nice and even, butted up against, and then I put it around the edge of the card so that way I can tape and attach it without worry that it's going to peel off. So yeah, that's why I put it around the cardstock, because once I get this once I get the extraordinary down, I'm taping it up using the art glitter glue, and we're going to get this attached to the card front. And that just guarantees having those strips underneath that it's not going to pull off. Anytime I can do that, I try and do that. You can just put it like from one edge to the other. I've seen Christy Marcotte use it that way, and I haven't heard her say she has any problems with lifting, but if you're worried about it, just do that trick, wrap it around, and then you'll be good to go. So basically, same exact setup, putting the foam tape down on our flower that we're going to lift up. I was going to use a heart instead, and I decided, nah, I'm just going to stay with the same flower. So that way you can see it. It's still the same setup, very similar as far as the title and the flower itself, but what's different is the different paper patterns that we put on top. And both cards are equally pretty. They're different. Dark on the top, light on the bottom, and then reversing it. It works. So here are the two cards together. And this is something you can do if you're intimidated and you want something that can help you really get started. Kiwi Lane, in my opinion, is not a bad way to go. It can be very helpful if you don't mind fussy cutting or cutting, with the scissors because there's no die cuts. Then definitely go their route. If you're already seasoned, they're still a good thing to have around because you can always just grab it and go. But I'm finding it fun and interesting to try and use them in different ways. So you may see them more because I have a lot of the card size templates. So thank you guys so much for joining me. Make sure you hit the like, subscribe, and share button. And at the end, I will have links to previous sketch videos. I hope you guys will check them out if you haven't seen them. And I hope you have a great weekend.